What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It is Saturday here. Usually not too much happening in the crypto world on Saturdays, but we'll see. We do have Bitcoin here coming out of a short-term downtrend. We're going to address that. But on this video, I'm going to be mainly talking about TradingView and how to actually use some of its simple but very effective indicators as a beginner. And I'm going to be taking a look into profit taking strategies because that's very important, okay? Because when you're in the market and the market pumps and it comes right back down, if you don't take your profits, it's being taken away from you, okay, by other traders. Now, if you guys are new to this channel, you guys should know that I dive deep into the charts every day and find moves before they actually happen. So you don't chase the pumping green candles. If you guys ever chased a pumping green candle, I'm sure you guys have, because we've all been there. We've all been beginners, or we're still beginners. I've been trading for 5 years. I've chased quite a bit of these candles, learned the hard way, and as I should, because those are the lessons that I will always remember. Um, and of course, if you guys have any technical analysis requests, if you guys want me to take a look into any altcoins, any markets, make sure to drop a comment, like, subscribe below. Okay, I will choose a request every day, and I will do a technical analysis request live for you guys. All right, let's go ahead and get started with this video. So, Bitcoin right now, just gonna jump into it very quickly because not too much happening on the weekends. Down slightly, has been on this downtrend here. On the hourly time frame, though, pretty small, okay? Small falling wedge pattern. Actually, after it has broken out of this about 96,000 resistance, okay? I'm gonna really call it 95,000 because we have been stuck underneath 95,000. We have been consolidating, a little bit above and below it. That's really what I saw as the main resistance, and let me tell you why. Because if we actually come back here to the daily time frame, last time when it hit about 95,000, huge rejection, and basically went all the way below the daily 200 SMA, which is the orange line, very important indicator and moving average. Okay, and this time we didn't get that rejection. We actually finally gotten back above it. We have consolidated on the hourly time frame above it, and we have actually broken out of this small downtrend here. Take a measure move, which is basically the opening of the pattern, and then you put it back on top of the breakout point. That should give us just a small target of about 97,000. Okay, so that is something to be considering. Okay, daily time frame, still looking good. Still looking good because we're still holding above the daily 200 SMA, right? Orange line, okay, we are still very well above it. Very important moving average again, okay? And I don't really see any weakness on the daily time frame right now because we have a higher high here on the price action chart comparing with this high, and we have a higher high on the RSI. Noticeably higher high on the RSI. 3-day time frame. Okay, we are actually closing this 3-day candle coming up in about 8 hours. Very important because we finally gone above the 3-day 50 SMA. Okay, but we do need a solid candle close here in about 8 hours. Okay, so if it actually closes like this, I wouldn't really consider this to be too solid. If we actually close at about, if we actually get a close above 98, that would look a lot safer. I mean, just visualize the candle, okay? This isn't that big of a candle above the 3-day 50 SMA. So that's just my opinion. Weekly time frame, right? Weekly 21 SMA, 92,000. Okay, very important to be seeing how this weekly candle closes in about a day. That is Sunday Pacific Standard Time, 5 o'clock here. Very important to see how this candle closes. Ethereum. Still lagging behind quite a bit, but did break out of this huge downtrend that has been forming since end of January. Okay, I'm waiting for I'm waiting for TradingView to load here. Sometimes it just lags. It broke out of this falling wedge pattern, very common pattern that you guys will see throughout your trading careers. Price target out of this pattern is gonna be about 2,900. Okay, that's still pretty far away. Daily 200 SMA is going to be about 2,700. Very far away from the daily 200 SMA. Unlike Bitcoin, unlike Total 3, okay, which is the total altcoin market cap, excluding Ethereum. That tells me that a lot of this market is ahead of Ethereum relative if we're talking about moving averages, and moving averages are very important to be talking about. All right, Total 3 broke out of this very similar pattern as well, falling wedge, usually breaks to the upside. Price target for Total 3 is going to be just right underneath 1.1 trillion. Okay, that could do some significant pumps for some of these smaller altcoins, as I'm sure you guys have seen. Just look in, I don't know, crypto bubbles. That's a good place to get a gauge, right? Daily 200, not too far away from the price action, which is about 860 billion. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. It is ahead of Ethereum when we're talking about moving averages. All right, let's take a look into stock market. Very important, could be a front-running signal for Bitcoin and the crypto markets because it has a very high correlation. Broke out of this falling wedge pattern again, okay, and price target for the stock market, S&P 500 ES1 exclamation mark is the futures for S&P 500. Price target 5,800. It did bounce off this huge support. I've been talking about this. Just look back to my previous videos, okay? Huge support, and this is what I'm talking about. This is why technical analysis is important, especially in measuring support and resistance, when to open positions, when to close positions, weekly time frame, ES1. If we actually take a look into the weekly time frame here, this pattern, it's called the cup and handle. Very common bullish pattern as well, very powerful bullish pattern. Okay, it basically worked out to a T here. Okay, cup and handle. Okay, I didn't make this shit up. Cup and handle right here. That has been forming since January 2022. Just read the dates here. January 2022 broke out January 2024. Price targets, which is basically the opening of the pattern. Okay, basically from you take the neckline of the cup and handle, and then you put it right back on top of the cup. That will give you about 6,100. Price action went the index went about just about there before crashing down to retest the support almost perfectly. So this is why technical analysis is important, and I basically live and die by this trading. Okay, and I have for the past 5 years. Okay, I used to listen to news. I used to listen to other YouTubers. Lately, I think for the past year, I just really zoned in on just trading on my own, right? Hardly listen to news that I would consider because I feel like everything I wholeheartedly believe that everything I need is on the charts, right? Of course, there's gonna be outliers, right? Like some major things happening that I would not foresee on the charts, Like maybe if like during COVID, right? That was crazy. Um, but other than that, with exceptions to outliers, this is what I'm talking about. I should be able to see everything on the charts. Let's take a look into. We're gonna talk about profit taking today, okay? Because this is a very important topic. I see it in comment sections from other YouTubers, and I really have to address this because I've been there. I've seen the comments where their bags have pumped a huge amount. Like I think yesterday I actually read someone's comment from Cryptos R Us, and they were talking about someone was talking about their bags pumped 60%, and then next thing you know, it actually he now he's down 50%. How did that happen? Okay, I think first of all, he didn't take profits, right? Which is a common mistake. I have been there, right? I have given up profits. Um, a very memorable way where I have given up profits was back in, of course, May 2021. If you guys remember, that was the crypto crash, right? Right here, April 2021. Okay, should I say? Right. Where Bitcoin actually dropped, I think, 40% in a day. It was a Sunday. Okay, I remember I was coming back from a vacation trip. Okay, I was coming back from Vegas. I wasn't gambling in Vegas, but I was, I was coming back from a trip there, and on the trip back, I just saw Bitcoin crash like crazy. Let me see if I can track that day there because it was very memorable and it hurt like crazy. Okay, let me go back to a day in May or April 2021. It's going to take a little time, so bear with me. But that day, Bitcoin dropped like 40%, okay, from like 60,000 to I think even maybe 40,000. I think it was right here. No, that was 2021, December. It was, let's see here. Was it in April? It was in May, I think. Okay, I don't know, but it was somewhere in here. It was a huge drop. Okay, it was a huge drop. Um, I think it might have been a Monday candle. Okay, maybe it was April 18th, 2021. That looks to be pretty correct. Maybe it wasn't a 40% drop, but it was a pretty sick drop. And this could be it. About 60,000. It's about 51,000, and it just continued going down, right? Um, and it just really hurt because that was a time when there was a lot of hype in the markets. Everyone kept saying it was going to continue going up, but next thing you know, it just went down. Okay. Um. So very important to be taking the profits. I'm going to be talking about my profit taking strategy and how I don't stress too much over any one position that I have. So I have quite a bit of positions because I read charts, right? I can basically find a setup on the charts. So let's just say I want to do a comparison. If I have quite a bit of positions, let's just say over 50, okay, versus having one or five positions, even five positions, okay. Because there was a time when I had fewer positions, one or two to about five. And when I had fewer positions, I definitely was more attached to the coins, right? I was less willing to take profits because I feel like if I take profits, I'm gonna lose out on the next move. That's very common. What I'm seeing, based on what I've read from comments, right? And I can definitely imagine that from my own experiences, because when I had fewer positions and I was more attached to the coins, I was less willing to take those profits because I believed in the coins and I would think it's going to continue going up. And next thing you know, after a huge pump, it's gonna dump because people are gonna take profits. Let me go ahead and illustrate this. Okay, let's come to some of these altcoins and some positions I have recently taken profits from, or at least exited. Right, exit it and try to buy back more. Okay, this is Thea USD, right? And basically, what happened here, I took profits somewhere pretty close to about right here, about 63 cents. Okay, I'm illustrating a point. And my reasoning for taking profits here is because it's the first time retesting this daily 200 SMA, which is the orange line. When it's the first time taking, retesting a resistance, that's where I would consider it to be a hard resistance, because from what I observed, there's been very few times that price action can actually get a solid candle close above that resistance. Okay, so that's why I consider it to be pretty hard resistance, and because it's pretty less likely that price action would get a solid candle close above it or break through it. Um, Now let's take a look into. So that's where I would take profits, of course, because I see it as a pretty hard resistance. Now, this is another example that I have actually exited a position out of recently. Okay, so this, right? This, let's just say this has actually retested the daily 200 SMA. Okay, as you guys can see, once here, that's where I would say it was hard resistance. Second time, okay, much safer. Okay, because this time it actually broke through. I'm not saying the second time is going to be 100%, but I'm just saying there's going to be a higher chance of price action breaking through, because when you keep hitting a resistance, the resistance gets softer. Same idea with supports. Okay, and this time it actually broke through. I took profits. I exited out of the position somewhere here because I was hoping that it was going to exit. It was going to come back to retest the daily 200. It hasn't yet. Of course, I could be wrong and I could lose out on profits, but at least I have actually exited the position when, when I was actually up on the position. Okay, or at least with some logic, right? It could actually come back to retest this daily 200. Okay, and if not, that's fine, because I could read other charts and actually enter into other positions, right? So that is also the importance of being able to read charts, and you can just find these charts across the markets. So even if you lose out if you make a mistake and your coin continues pumping, I won't get stressed out because I can ride another coin back up, and potentially this could come back down, and I'll buy it back, when it comes back to a range that I will like, right? So let me just do a quick recap. TradingView, very important. The indicators I use are simple moving averages, RSI, which is the relative strength index, and just continuously charting these coins. Now, to start with indicators, put in RSI, right? This is just what works for me. It's a very simple but powerful indicator. Simple SMA, and that's where you can actually start. Now, this wraps it up for this video. Thank you very much for watching and have a great weekend.